To save my boyfriend's company. I married a merman. Mermen are cold by nature and have strong desires. They are also self-conscious about their tails because of their fish tails. I humiliated him countless times by saying, "Your slimy fish tail makes me feel disgusted just by looking at it. Just like you." Later, I was killed by my boyfriend. To save me, the merman pulled out all his scales. He was willing to turn into foam and die without a whole body. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to the night when I got married to the merman. He hid the self-consciousness and brokenness in his eyes. "What do you want to say again?" "I want to say." I looked up at him, "Can I kiss your beautiful fish tail?" If I remember correctly, the last person I saw before losing consciousness was William. He fell in a pool of blood and showed me a beautiful and tragic smile. "Amora, don't be afraid. I'm here. I can save you. Amora. If I can't save you, I'll die with you. Amora. Actually, my fishtail is not disgusting." William was trying to save me. He was most afraid of pain. But he endured the piercing pain and pulled out his scales himself. He loved the sun the most. But he turned into foam in the sunlight. He hated me the most. But he was willing to exchange his life for mine, and let me live. My back was soaked in cold sweat. I gasped for breath and woke up from the dream with a start. Opening my eyes wide. It was dark in front of me. The tip of my nose was filled with a pungent smell of blood. Everything was quiet. Just when I was wondering if I had already arrived in the underworld, a familiar choked voice suddenly came from my ear. "Amora, do you like him so much? If I don't let you go find him, you try to kill yourself? Do you like him so much?" This voice. My heart contracted sharply. My mind instantly woke up. I sat up abruptly. Sure enough, when I looked up, I saw that familiar face. William was leaning against the window. His face was pale. His hair was messy. The whole person looked embarrassed and weak. When I saw his face, tears instantly welled up in my eyes. "William? Is it really you? You're not dead?" Hearing this, William's tall and straight figure trembled. He gave a very sad smile. "Yes. I'm still alive. Are you very disappointed?" I almost subconsciously shook my head in denial. "No. I'm very happy that you are still." He had an expressionless face. As if he was tired of what I said. He turned and walked out without hesitation. Seeing him leaving, I quickly wiped away my tears. I wanted to get up and chase after him. But because my legs were weakened, I couldn't use any strength. I fell off the bed, struggling to raise my head. Those extremely familiar furnishings came into view one by one. I held my breath nervously and carefully observed the surrounding environment. This table. This sofa. This. I finally realized. This is not somewhere else. This is the place where I have lived for a whole year. This is the home of William and me. I hurriedly got up from the ground and rushed to the table. By the light from outside the window, I saw the time on the calendar clearly. 2021. This was the year when I just married William. I was reborn and went back to the year when I just married William. There was also a wedding photo of William and me placed next to the calendar. I picked up the photo with trembling hands. Those unpleasant memories instantly came back. In my previous life, I was bewitched. I believed the sweet words of the scumbag. I believed that William was an extremely evil villain. I believed that everything William did would hurt me. And today, because William stopped me from going to Grayson's opening ceremony, we had a fierce argument. The reason why William didn't let me go was because at the opening ceremony, Grayson would announce being with my best friend. He didn't want to see me sad. But I only thought he was targeting Grayson. I hit and kicked him, said all kinds of insulting words. I even cursed him to die. "William, don't you think you are disgusting? You are a merman but always want to live a human life? Are you disgusting?" William lowered his head, pretended not to hear my malicious words, silently pasted the torn wedding photo again and again. But even though I did such an excessive thing, after I took sleeping pills and fell into a coma, William still pulled out his scales without hesitation to save me. I woke up from my memories and rushed out of the room. I ran head-on into Nanny Chen Ma, who was holding bandages and hemostatic medicine in her hand. As soon as Chen Ma saw me, she instantly became vigilant. "What do you want to do again?" I asked eagerly. "Where is William?" Chen Ma turned around and ignored me. "I don't know." I fell silent. I knew Chen Ma wouldn't tell me. Not only her, but no one in this villa would reveal William's whereabouts to me. Because every time I look for him, nothing good happens. Since no one will help me, I'll look for him myself. I searched room by room according to my memories from my previous life, until I pushed open the door of William's study. A thick smell of blood came over me. I was instantly stunned. I saw William sitting naked in a pool of blood. His beautiful blue fishtail was emitting a faint light. He lowered his head. His face was pale. The whole person looked dangerous and charming. I knew that it would be very painful for a merman to pull out his scales, but I never thought it would be such a tragic scene. As the door was suddenly pushed open by me, William showed impatience. His voice was hoarse as he said, "Get out." I didn't move. William's aura instantly became violent. There was a bloodthirsty red light in his eyes. He slowly raised his head, looking for death. When he saw that it was me, his fierce stone paused. He quickly turned his head. In a panicked movement, he wanted to cover his exposed fishtail. Seeing the living William again, I should be happy. But the choking in my tone couldn't be suppressed. "William, does it hurt?" Hearing this, William's hand on the fishtail curled slightly. Then he sneered and asked, "It has nothing to do with you. Say it. What else do you want me to do for Grayson?" I wiped away my tears and walked in. "No. Don't come over." When William saw me lift my foot, he supported his body and hid under the table. At the same time, he said coldly, "Get out." My footsteps paused. Looking at his resistant expression, I bit my lip and said stubbornly, "I won't go out." William paused. The sarcastic arc at the corner of his mouth grew bigger and bigger. "Not going out? What are you staying here for? What else do you want to say? Do you want a divorce or curse me to die?" I lifted my foot and walked firmly towards him. "William, actually, I want to say." When William saw me approaching, he inferently turned his head. His delicate features were hidden in the dim light, making it impossible to see his expression. I squatted down, unabashedly facing his dark blue eyes. I said softly, "Your fish tail is so beautiful, like colored glaze." As soon as the words fell, William, who had a tense jaw, trembled violently. He raised his head abruptly. I took the opportunity to raise my hand and hold his face. I asked extremely sincerely, "So, can I kiss it?" There were complicated expressions in William's eyes. He looked at me for a long time, gently pushed my hand away. With a cold face, he said, "Amora, I won't stop you from looking for Grayson anymore. You don't have to say these insincere words to please me. Get out." Looking at my empty hand, I quickly explained, "What I said is sincere." "Shut up." William interrupted me, and repeated coldly again, "Get out," knowing that I couldn't be too impatient. So I lowered my head in disappointment, stood up and planned to say goodbye to him. As a result, my foot slipped. There was a dizzying spin in front of me. Then, I directly kissed on his tail. Before I could even cry out in pain, William reacted greatly before me and gasped. A strange blush instantly spread from his face to his neck. "Amora, you." He seemed to be angry. Without saying a word, I simply kissed it several more times vigorously. Then I looked at him carefully. "You see, I really want to kiss your tail." Sincerely. William ignored me. His eyes were tightly closed. There was an abnormal blush on his face. His breathing was very rapid. I worriedly reached out to feel his temperature. "William, your face is so red. Do you have a fever?" William suddenly opened his eyes and grabbed my hand. In the next second, I was mercilessly thrown out. Before I could figure out what was going on, the study door closed heavily in front of me. It was noon. Everything was quiet. Only two little birds on the windowsill behind me were talking. Quack. She kissed it. She kissed it. She kissed the tail. Quack. She doesn't know that the male merman's fishtail is equivalent to the second. I know these two. One is called Kiki. The other is called Bubba. I asked curiously, equivalent to the second what? The two little birds looked at each other and let out quacking laughter. One of the little birds flapped its wings excitedly. Quack. Equivalent to a man's. Before finishing speaking, the door behind me opened with a bang again. William changed back to human form. He was wearing a clean white shirt and black pants, wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, making him look cold and abstinent. There was no trace of his previous embarrassed appearance. He strode over. Without even looking at me, his well-defined big hand pinched the heads of the two little birds and threw them out of the window. Soon, there were ghostly howls of the two birds from outside the window. I worriedly took 2 steps forward. William, are you okay? William turned his back to me. His voice was hoarse. Almora, don't blame me for not warning you. If you go now, you might still be able to catch up. Looking at his cold back, I gritted my teeth and threw myself at him and hugged his arm. Why should I eat with others? I only want to eat with you. Thinking about it, I added, husband. As soon as William heard the word, husband, he suddenly pulled out his arm and moved far away from me. Mora. Here. He suppressed the violence in his eyes. Extremely angry. He laughed instead. The last time you called me that was to pull out my scales and give them to Grayson. So what about this time? What is it for? For the heart? There was a sharp pain in my heart. I stepped forward and grabbed his hand and wouldn't let go. Of course not. Aren't we husband and wife? It's normal for me to call you like this. William still didn't believe it. His suspicious eyes scanned me back and forth. Finally, he looked at his watch. If you don't go now, you really won't be able to see Grayson. Why does he always mention Grayson? Actually, he is the one who likes Grayson. Right? I stood on tiptoe and hooked his neck. Said pitifully, I didn't want to see him in the first place. I just want to see you. Husband, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten anything all day. William lowered his eyelashes. There was a flash of distress in his calm eyes like a pool of water. It seemed that playing pitiful was effective. I blinked and continued to look at him pitifully. Today I was in a hurry to come out to see you. The shoes I wore didn't fit. My feet were injured. It hurt so much. Hearing this, he was silent for a long time. Finally, he sighed resignedly, squatted down and carefully grabbed my ankle. Let me see. I nodded vigorously. Then I propped up my chin and looked at William seriously. People often say that mermen from the deep sea are extremely beautiful and good at bewitching people. My gaze followed William's long and slightly curled eyelashes all the way down, past his fair and delicate side face, finally landed on his rosy and soft lips. I couldn't help swallowing. Oh, my God. What a beautiful little mermaid. What a kissable mouth. Thinking like this, I did it. Raised my hand and put my arms around his neck. William's eyelashes trembled. He slightly raised his eyes. There seemed to be a hook in his eyes. Looking at me fixedly like this. Kiss? Should I kiss? Kiss. Just one kiss. I couldn't restrain myself and leaned close to his lips. Just as I was about to kiss him, my phone rang. The ambiguous atmosphere was instantly broken. A trace of disappointment flashed across William's face. He looked away and pretended to be indifferent. I was furious in my heart. I took out my phone and answered it without even looking. You'd better tell me that the sky is falling. Before I could finish speaking, Grayson's complaining voice came from the other end. Saying, did William agree to you? Why don't you speak? Didn't he agree to you? You can play pitiful. Make him feel sorry for you. Saying. Everything is just a temporary measure. I know you find his tail disgusting. But after everything is done, we can be together forever. My heart tightened. I quickly looked up at William. William was also staring at me. There was a terrifying gloom in his eyes. When he saw me looking at him, he sneered twice, with an expression that I knew you did this only to help him. Then, without waiting for me to speak, he forcefully pulled away my hand and stood up and walked away. I hung up the phone and trotted after him. William, it's not what you heard. Don't listen to that idiot's nonsense. William stopped in his tracks. Without looking at me. His voice was cold, but his back was trembling slightly. Go find him, I said. I won't stop you anymore. I gritted my teeth and rushed forward and hugged his waist. His back stiffened. He seemed to want to break free from me. I simply went all out. I turned his face around, pulled off his glasses, and started kissing him randomly. He wanted to struggle, but he was afraid of hurting me. He supported my waist weakly and let me smear his face with saliva. After some time passed, I opened my eyes and looked at William. I saw that his eyes were red. His eyes were moist. His collar was messy, looking as if he had been severely ravaged by me. I felt guilty and looked away, not daring to talk to him. William glanced at me. There was still a hook in his eyes. He lowered his eyelids. His voice was low. After kissing me, it's time to find him, right? Of course not. I suddenly turned my head. I wished I could swear to the sky. In the past, I was blind to fall for Grayson. William, I know your goodness now. I swear. From now on, there is only you in my eyes. I won't be stupid anymore. Let's live well. William lifted his eyelids and looked at me. Then he lowered his head again. With a wry smile, you've said such lies countless times. I was anxious and urgently wanted to prove to him, this time it's really not a lie. William twirled the ring on his ring finger. He didn't say a word, but it was obvious that he didn't believe. Looking at his action, I suddenly remembered that there seemed to be a kind of contract among the merman race were once concluded. They would be bound together for a lifetime. In my previous life, he was extremely angry with me. More than once he wanted to conclude the contract with me, but I refused desperately. Thinking of this, I seemed to have caught a life-saving straw. I quickly said, do you mermen have some kind of contract? William lowered his head and still didn't say a word. I am willing to conclude a contract with you and be bound to you forever. Okay. William looked up in a second. The words "trust me" got stuck in my throat. The two little birds outside the window started chirping again. Quack. Tricked. I didn't hear clearly. What did they say? What to catch? Fishing. William's face remained unchanged. They said they want to go fishing. Me. Fishing? Birds want to go fishing? After dinner, William walked straight into the bathroom. I sat on the sofa and fiddled with my phone. Just then, Grayson sent me a commanding voice message. Sang song. I'm drunk. Come and pick me up. I looked at the time. It was 11:30 at night. I sneered and replied to him. Okay, Grayson. I'll pick you up. You must wait for me. Don't leave. You must wait for me. Wait for me. After sending this voice message, I didn't hesitate to turn off my phone and threw it aside. Idiot. You better wait until you die. Recalling my thoughts, I suddenly felt a chill on my back. I shrank my shoulders and looked back. I saw William covered in moisture, wearing short-sleeved shorts that looked like elementary school uniforms, staring at me motionlessly. There was a dark glint in his eyes. I curved my eyes. He ignored me with a cold face. He retreated back into the bathroom and slammed the bathroom door. I was startled. Thinking about it, he must have heard the voice message I sent just now and misunderstood. Thinking of this, I quickly got up and wanted to knock on the door. As soon as I reached the door, the bathroom door opened with a whoosh. I was eager to explain, William. Before I could finish speaking, I was stunned. William had changed out of the sleeved shorts just now. He was naked on the upper body, only wearing a towel. His hair was dripping. The water droplets fell on his solid chest and rolled into the towel along his abdominal muscles. I stared straight. I couldn't help swallowing. I forgot what I was going to say. William lowered his eyes. Are you going out? I came to my senses. I'm not. William was in a low mood and took a few steps closer. Will you come back? I subconsciously nodded and then quickly shook my head. I'm not going out. William. I won't go pick him up. Suddenly, William's feet went weak. In an instant, he leaned against me. I nervously supported him. William, what's wrong with you? William's face was a little pink. He blinked and looked at me innocently. Almora. I seem to have stayed in the bathroom for too long. I'm short of oxygen. My head is so dizzy. Short of oxygen? I anxiously touched his forehead. What should we do? Sit down first. I'll pour you a glass of water. He looked up weakly. Okay. I was in a flurry to pour water for William. The chirping of the birds in the living room became shrill again. Quack. Manipulative. Green tea. Manipulative green tea with a fool. I didn't have time to deal with them. But just as I turned around, I seemed to see William without hesitation lift his foot and kick one bird each. The two birds were instantly ejected. William drank the water and leaned back on the sofa to rest. I sat on the side. My gaze involuntarily fell on him again. William closed his eyes slightly and leaned back on the sofa waxed lie. Just then, his clear jawline and sexy protruding Adam's apple were exposed. Looking up, I could still see his moist and soft thin lips shining under the light. I suddenly felt thirsty. This stinky fish. Why is he so tempting? I shook my head vigorously. I simply stood up and found something to do. I didn't notice at all. Behind me, William opened his eyes. There was a trace of cunning in his eyes. He stared at me with a deep gaze. In these days after getting married, I had always lived in the second bedroom. My clothes and daily necessities were piled up in the second bedroom. I walked into the second bedroom and opened the closet to pack things. I don't know how long it had passed. Suddenly, William's voice sounded behind me. Taking clothes. Are you still going to find him? I turned around abruptly. William suppressed the pain in his eyes. His smile was bitter. It's cold outside. Remember to wear more. After saying that, he turned and fled into the master bedroom. And he closed the door conveniently. 3 minutes later, I pushed open the door of the master bedroom with a pile of clothes in my arms. Hearing the sound, William looked up. I glared at him breathlessly. William, come and help. There are too many things. I can hardly hold them anymore. William was stunned for a second. His eyes were filled with complex emotions. What are you doing? I put down the things and put my hands on my hips. Can't you see? Of course. I'm moving into the master bedroom. As soon as the words fell, William suddenly looked up, looking at me in disbelief. I pushed aside all the black clothes in the closet and hung all my clothes in. William hadn't said a word since the beginning. He just followed me closely. Everything was quiet. Suddenly, William spoke. Amora. What's this? I took a look at the thing in his hand. Oh, it's my lip balm. William blinked. How do you use it? I didn't look up. How else can you use lip balm? Just apply it directly on your lips. Oh, is it like this? I looked up at him, just in time to meet his gaze. William's dark eyes were gloomy, staring at me directly. His thin lips that had just been applied with lip balm were shining like jelly. It looked very kissable. Damn it. A lip balm actually made him look so sexy. My face flushed. I quickly looked away. You have to pucker up. Huh? William responded softly. Pucker up? Like this? I couldn't help but look at him again. He blinked and stared at me fixedly. Damn it. I can't stand it anymore. I gritted my teeth. Suddenly leaned forward. Picked up his face and kissed him several times vigorously. It felt good. I let go and opened my eyes to look at him. William didn't speak. His eyes were red, covered with lipstick marks. His clothes were messy. He lowered his eyebrows and looked obedient, looking like a wronged little wife who had been bullied and didn't dare to speak. Seeing this, I immediately felt embarrassed. William, what's wrong with you? He pursed his lips. His expression was lonely. His voice was low as he said, "Mermen from the deep sea can't be kissed casually. If you kiss them, you have to be responsible." Seeing him looking so pitiful, I wished I could swear a poisonous oath. Be responsible. I will definitely be responsible. I will marry you. As soon as these words came out, both of us were stunned. I was really dazzled by him, and said everything. William suddenly looked up. There was no trace of the wronged look just now. His eyes were full of possessiveness, staring at me, as if he would tear me apart and devour me in the next second. I cleared my throat awkwardly, looked up at him seriously. William, in the past, I was blind and heartless. I did many things that hurt you. But from now on, it won't happen anymore. William, I will love you well. Love you as you love me. This time it was his turn to lean over and pick up my face. I looked up. Trust me. Okay. Before I could finish speaking, he lowered his head and sealed my mouth. This little stupid fish is quite good at kissing. Okay. Open your mouth. In a state of confusion, I heard him say this by my ear. A good night's dream. Early in the morning, I heard noises downstairs. I got up irritably, only to find that William, who was originally sleeping beside me, had long disappeared. The scenes from last night popped up sporadically in my mind. I vaguely remembered. Despite William's resistance, I hugged him tightly with all my might. I slept well, but it seemed that he had taken several cold showers. I rubbed my head, put on slippers and went downstairs. Only then did I find out that the person making noise downstairs was none other than Grayson. As soon as Grayson saw me, he rolled his eyes several times. His tone was full of complaints. Amora, why did you come out only now? Do you know how long I've been waiting for you here? What's wrong with you? Why didn't you come out to welcome me? And you still let these nannies who look down on people stop me? I was busy fiddling with the big diamond and ring on my ring finger. I didn't have time to deal with him. When did William put this ring on me? Last night? Such a big one. How much does it cost? Grayson took a deep breath. His tone was full of condescension and contempt, but his face was full of smiles. Amora, I thought about it. You'd better not stay by William's side anymore. I've decided to take you away. You must be extremely happy, right? I looked up at Grayson and got straight to the point. Happy your mother. Grayson raised his eyebrows triumphantly. I certainly know you're happy for my mom. You. What did you say? I crossed my arms and raised my chin. Grayson, I was nice to you before because you saved my life. But as of today, that life has been returned to you. So we are even. Get out quickly. I'm annoyed just looking at you. Hearing the word, saving life. A trace of guilt flashed in Grayson's eyes. Then suddenly he raised his voice. Almora, if it weren't for me 2 years ago, you would have drowned in the sea long ago. Your life was given by me. My parents all said that I am your savior. You have to repay the kindness. In these years of being adopted by the Zhang family, their whole family constantly instilled in me the thought that I owed them. Because of Grayson's life-saving grace back then, I obeyed him in everything. But this time it's different. He killed me once. We are even. I frowned and looked at him. Before I could speak, I felt the temperature around me drop instantly. I turned my head. Sure enough, in my peripheral vision, I saw William standing on the second floor, with his hands in his pockets, looking at me and Grayson's direction with deep eyes. Grayson was still talking. Amora. Stop pretending. Be reasonable when you are in a temper. I know you hate William and want to leave with me. Are you dying to go? I took my gaze back and looked at Grayson. Raised my voice. What? How do you know that I almost love my husband to death? Grayson was stunned for a moment. What are you talking about? I covered my chest. You are right. I can't live without him. I wish I could tie myself to him. I love him so much. If I can't see him for a second, my heart will stop beating. Grayson frowned. What did I say? I interrupted him. Waved my hand, but there's no way. After all, my husband is tall, handsome, rich, has a good figure and great stamina. There are countless advantages. As soon as he stands there, I can't see anyone else. My eyes are full of him. The temperature around gradually warmed up. Footsteps sounded behind me. William came over. Behind him was his good brother Bryson. Bryson stared at me in shock. I turned my head and pretended to be surprised and covered my mouth. Husband? When did you come? I just saw you. After a pause, I covered my face and hid in his arms. Oh my God. So shy. So shy. Then did you hear all those really sincere words I just said? William raised his hand and stroked my waist. His thin lips parted slightly. His voice was hoarsely terrifying. Yes. I heard it all. Bryson on the side rubbed his arms and kept rolling his eyes. Sister. What you said just now is to fake. Which idiot would like to hear such words? Go deceive a 3-year-old. I glared at him. Before I could speak, William lowered his head and rubbed my nose. His voice was coquettish. I love to hear it so much. It's so nice. Say more. Okay? Bryson. I grinned and nodded vigorously. Grayson, who had been silent for a long time, forced an ugly smile, sang psalm. I'll leave first. I will come to find you again. After saying this sentence, he walked out step by step, looking very reluctant. Wait. I called him. At the same time, I felt William's grip on me suddenly increase. I pretended not to feel it. Cleared my throat. Mr. Jong, don't come to find me in the future. I'm married. I don't want to have too much contact with you. I don't want to make my husband suspicious either. That's it. Walk faster. Don't keep looking back. We are going to have dinner. There is no food for you. As soon as the words fell, the strength in my hand instantly became gentle. Grayson still wanted to speak. William raised his eyes and glanced at him lightly. There was fear in Grayson's eyes. He immediately fell silent and left in a dejected manner with his tail between his legs. I turned around. Accidentally, I saw Bryson winking at William nonstop. That expression seemed like a provocation. Suddenly, some bad thoughts arose in my heart. William, were you always bullied in the sea before? William looked at me and didn't speak. And Bryson on the side seemed to have heard some joke and laughed so hard that he almost fell over. Bully him? What crazy talk. Whoever dares to touch a hair on him will be cut into pieces and fed to sharks. I didn't believe Bryson's nonsense. I only believed William. You are such a beautiful little merman. Those stinky fish and rotten shrimps in the sea must have bullied you a lot. Right? No. Actually. William raised his eyes, met my eyes full of pity, pressed his lips together, as if he had made some kind of decision. He said firmly, actually, you are right. They all bully me. You see, I was right. William lowered his eyelashes. His fingers hooked my hair very insecurely. His voice was low and aggrieved. I was very weak before. When I was in the sea, no one loved me. No one was nice to me. They all bullied me. Looking at William lowering his head, a grieved lie. Looking like an innocent dog who has been bullied. My heart softened completely. I quickly got up and hugged him into my arms. Don't be afraid. You were wronged before. But it won't happen again. I will protect you. Okay? William's voice was muffled. Then? Will you leave me? Of course not. Will you abandon me? No. No. Will you find me annoying? No. Will you find me clingy? No. I like you clinging to me. Hearing this, William rubbed against my neck. His furry head made my chin itchy. Amora. You are so good to me. In this world, only you are good to me. I have nothing but you. Am I very pitiful? I lowered my head. Sure enough. I saw that every strand of William's hair was telling about his past grievances. I was very distressed. I quickly hugged him tightly. Yes. You are so pitiful. Since I am so pitiful, can you be better to me? Of course. Then sleep with me. William's expression changed in a second. In 2 lifetimes. This was the first time sleeping on the same bed with William. The beautiful little merman was lying beside me. I was a little distracted. Looking up at the ceiling, I listened to William's breathing beside me becoming more and more stable. William. Are you asleep? His voice was extremely hoarse. He quickly responded to me. Not yet. I remembered the news I saw online before. I turned over and faced him. Whispered, William. I read online that mermen have 2 of those things. You know what I'm talking about. Right? Is it true? Can I see it? Hearing this, William's body stiff and suddenly, his breathing began to become rapid. After taking deep breaths repeatedly, he gritted his teeth and said, Shut up. Sleep. Oh. His breath was not right. I didn't dare to provoke him. I obediently turned over and closed my eyes. 20 minutes later, William's breath gradually stabilized. I poked my head out from under the quilt. Blinked. So. Is it true? William took a deep breath. Amora. Something is wrong. Very wrong. As soon as I closed my eyes, I quickly burrowed into the quilt. But it was too late. William gently grabbed my shoulder. There was an abnormal redness in his eyes. Amora. I'm sorry. I want. Before I could finish speaking, I was directly pulled under him by him. His tone was coaxing. Be good. Didn't you want to know if there are 2? Let me show you. Okay. Ah? William. William seemed tireless. Vaguely. When I fell asleep, the sky was already getting bright. At the moment before I fell asleep, I felt William's gentle kiss on my forehead. His voice was low and affectionate. I found the coral stone you wanted at the bottom of the sea. You don't want to dive into the bottom of the sea. Then I will come ashore for you. Baby. I am very good. Try to love me wholeheartedly. Okay? Okay. I was so tired that I couldn't speak. I could only answer him in my heart. I slept for a long time this time. And I had many messy dreams. In the dream, at the age of 16, I accidentally lost my parents and was adopted by Uncle John, my father's good friend. Grayson's mother desperately brainwashed me that it was Grayson who saved me back, then in order to get my parents' property to fund her laboratory. I raised my head. Stubbornly said to Grayson's mother, No. The person who saved me is not Grayson. It's a very beautiful merman. Yes. The one who saved me from the sea is a very beautiful merman. The one who accompanied me and waited for so many days, there is also that merman. He also invited me to go to the bottom of the sea with him. Grayson's mother slapped me on the face. Knocked me to the ground. What merman? It's Grayson. Grayson is your savior. You should give all your property to our family. It's not like this. I refused to listen. She kept hitting me. She didn't stop until I was on the verge of death. You cheap hoof. You don't have a long memory. I will beat you until you have a long memory. Life in the Zhang family is really hard. In order to save money, Grayson's mother fired the nanny. She made me do all the housework. I had to wash the dishes. Cook. I could only eat leftovers. I could only wear Grayson's old clothes. I could only sleep on the floor outside the door. In this family, anyone can beat and scold me to vent their anger if they are not happy. It hurts so much. It really hurts so much. I almost fell asleep crying every day. Merman from the deep sea. Didn't you say you would protect me? Didn't you say that you would come back to find me as soon as you found the coral stone? Why haven't you come back? I hurt so much. Later, before I could wait for the merman I was longing for, I became a test subject in Grayson's mother's laboratory. They changed all my blood, altered my memory, locked me in the laboratory, without seeing the light of day. Gradually, I began to not remember the appearance of that merman. Every time I slept for a while, his appearance would become a little blurry in my memory. I didn't want to forget him like this, so I began to try to restrain my sleepiness. I pricked my arm with a stolen needle. I hit my leg with a stone. I left countless bloody wounds on my body just to remember him. But their experiment was still successful. That beautiful merman became an enemy in my memory. But Grayson became my benefactor. Those lost and unpleasant memories completely awakened. I was in so much pain that I could hardly breathe. I desperately reached out to grab something. But it was in vain. Until my hand was held by someone. I opened my eyes suddenly. Met William's eyes full of worry. The dream was broken. I returned to reality. This time, I am no longer alone. The merman who supported me to live hard is not someone I can only see in my dreams. He is right beside me. I can hug him as soon as I reach out. Amora. Wake up. You had a nightmare. I suddenly sat up, hugged his neck tightly. Before he could react, I cried so hard in his arms that I couldn't breathe. You lied. Didn't you say you would find the coral stone and come back soon? I have been waiting for you all this time. But I can't wait for you anymore. What should I do? I can't wait for you anymore. Didn't you say you would take me to the bottom of the sea? I want to go to the bottom of the sea. I don't want to go with them. Will you take me to the bottom of the sea? Please? They drew my blood with such a thick needle again, and again. I was tortured by them to the point of wishing I were dead. Seeing you and going to the bottom of the sea with you are the only thoughts that support me to live on. How can I not be willing to go to the bottom of the sea with you? I've been longing for it almost to the point of madness. William, I'm sorry. I did so many things that hurt you before. But me. How can I say it? Sorry. These years, I really miss you very much. I don't care if William can understand me or not. I just want to tell him everything. William listened carefully. Redness swelled up in his eyes. His body was constantly shaking. He held me tightly with both hands, almost wanting to blend me into his body. I know he understood. A long time passed. My emotions gradually calmed down. I wanted to speak, but accidentally blew a snot bubble. Embarrassed, I raised my hand and pushed him. William, you. Let go of me first. William obediently let go of me. It was also at this moment that I suddenly noticed that William was wearing a stone around his neck. The stone was blood red and emitting a faint glow. I held the stone and looked up at him. This is... William grabbed my hand. This is the most beautiful coral stone at the bottom of the sea. It was originally the coral stone for you. But when I came back, you were no longer there. My nose soured. And then? He wiped away my tears, calmly as if he were talking about someone else's story. And then, I waited for you year after year there. But I am so useless. I didn't wait for you. So, I can only come to find you. Are you stupid? What if I were dead? A mermaid will only have one partner in their lifetime. William leaned down, looked into my eyes, and promised seriously word by word. So, if you live, I live. If you die, I will never live alone. I couldn't help but throw myself into his arms and burst into tears again. 3 days later, the famous Jiang's laboratory was exposed for having been doing illegal experiments for many years. The police quickly sealed off the laboratory. Grayson's mother committed suicide by jumping off a building that night. Grayson was also taken away by the police for assisting his mother in doing experiments. When I heard this news, I was playing with Kiki and Bubba. William was sitting behind me, staring at my every move. I don't know who is so bad. They plucked all the feathers of Cheeky and Bubba. The two bald birds flapped their wings angrily, and kept repeating. Soon, the two of them couldn't even quack anymore. They could only stare round-eyed and helplessly at each other. I quickly called William. William. Kiki and Bubba seemed to be sick. Come and take a look quickly. Really? Hearing my call, William got up and walked over, standing still behind me. His chest pressed tightly against my back. Then he blew on my ear and said slowly, Sick? I nodded vigorously. Yes. Yes. Look. They suddenly can't talk anymore. William stared at my mouth. His right hand climbed up along my waistline and answered absentedly. Oh. Maybe it's their menstrual period. Menstrual period? I turned my head in shock. Do birds also have menstrual periods? William leaned closer and gently pecked and kissed my chin. Well? What did you search on the computer last night? What? I looked at William's smiling eyes in confusion. Suddenly, I remembered what I had searched for yesterday. William kissed my earlobe vaguely and said, Can humans and mermaids have children? If you want to know, you shouldn't search online. My face flushed completely. Subconsciously, I raised my hand to cover his mouth and said awkwardly, William, don't say any more. He took the opportunity to peck the center of my palm. Looking up at me, his eyes seemed to have a hook of temptation. You should try it yourself. In the next second, William picked me up horizontally and walked towards the bedroom. Let's try. William, it's daytime now. You. Epilogue. William. I have been different from others since the day I was born. My father is the king at the bottom of the sea. My mother is the princess at the bottom of the sea. The witch said that I am the purest royal bloodline that is hard to come by in 100 years. A mermaid like me is born a favored one, and the most noble little prince at the bottom of the sea. My tears will turn into pearls. My singing is the most beautiful in the entire sea area. My fish tail emits the rarest gem blue light. I lived carefree at the bottom of the sea for hundreds of years until I met that human girl. It is recorded in a brief history of the bottom of the sea. A mermaid will only have one partner in their lifetime. Once determined, it will be for life after life. Forever and ever. And never be betrayed. But humans can have countless partners. They say that for humans, in the end of love, it all depends on conscience. So, mermaids must absolutely not fall in love with humans because they will only suffer losses and not be happy. I firmly believe that a brief history of the bottom of the sea will not deceive me, and I have always regarded humans as fierce beasts. But this girl in front of me doesn't seem to be a fierce beast. She is more like a small flower swaying in the wind and rain. I don't know human language, but she always seems to be able to understand what I want to say. She calls me brother little fish. She will take the initiative to hold my hand. She will also sing human songs for me. I angrily swung my tail, attempting to drive her away. She blinked. From following me closely, she changed to following me from a distance. She doesn't seem to be afraid of me. She also said that I am a good person. No, a good fish. I smiled. Look at how silly she is. Can she tell what is good and what is bad? I thought. I should go back to the bottom of the sea and let her cry alone on the shore. But I don't really want to see her cry. Accompany her. Just accompany her like this. I said to myself. I don't know what drives me to uncontrollably want to be close to her. In short, every day with her is very happy. Later, she said she wanted the most beautiful coral stone in the deep sea. In order to find it, I went through all kinds of hardships and was seriously injured. But I don't care at all. However, when I excitedly held that coral stone and came to the shore, she had long disappeared. Just like that. From sunrise to sunset. And from sunset to sunrise again. I waited for her countless days and nights. And finally, I understood. She doesn't want the coral stone I found. And she doesn't want me either. Villain. I hate you. How can you deceive a little animal? I don't remember how long I waited for her. It seems like 3 years. It seems like 6 years. In any case, I can't wait for her. So, I decided to go find her. I know that there is a potion at the witch at the bottom of the sea that can turn me into a human. The witch's old face was flickering in the dim light. Her voice was filled with infinite sadness. Since ancient times, no fish that falls in love with a human will have a good end. Your Highness, at the bottom of the sea, you are a noble prince. But on the shore, you will lose everything. If she doesn't love you, you will even lose your life. Even so, do you still want to go find her? I suddenly understood. So this is love. I nodded firmly. The process of turning into a human is extremely painful. I exchanged my proud singing for a chance to speak. I drank the witch's potion, and turned my tail into human legs. From then on, I can no longer sing. The witch's potion has side effects. Although I have human legs, every step I take is like stepping on a blade. The pain is piercing. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. I am in so much pain. But when I think that I will see her soon, it doesn't seem so painful anymore. I am the toughest little fish at the bottom of the sea. They all say so. I am not afraid of anything. I am only afraid that she doesn't love me. Love me. Okay? I have never said this sentence directly to her, because I am afraid to see her eyes full of disgust. That feeling is more painful than the witch's potion. She not only forgot me but also hates me very much. But if she had looked at me carefully, she would know. These words of confession are hidden in the gaze I fix on her. Hidden in my uncontrollable heartbeat. Hidden in every time I blush. In these ways, I have silently asked her more than once. Love me. Okay? Just try to give me a little bit of love. Okay? Amora. Love me. Perhaps God heard my prayer. Suddenly one day, the way she looked at me was no longer disgust and nausea but turned into guilt and affection. I thought darkly. Guilt can't wrap her. Affection can be considered love. In this way, can I lock her up for a lifetime with these? I admit that I am despicable, dark, and unscrupulous. I began to make myself look even more pitiful just to win her sympathy. Amora, can you look at me carefully this time? I love you so much that I am almost going crazy. I am willing to give you my life. I just want to be by your side forever, regardless of life and death.